Hello everybody, welcome back to Let's Play Hearts of Iron IV, the new order as Iberia now. The Iberian Federation. We're slowly bringing ourselves towards a more democratic Iberia. Did I not unpause the game? Am I crazy? Did I lose my mind? Oh, there we go. Okay. I think it was maybe loading something in the background. I'm not too sure. Let's do special police deployments, you know, just in case anything bad potentially happens during the election. But I'm sure nothing bad could happen, because Iberia is the greatest nation on Earth. And you know what, let's put more into infantry equipment. Because really, at this point, it doesn't really matter what we're actually researching. Because, like, I mean, ready the Guardia Civil. A worry shared by many in the population is whether or not the kind of voter intimidation that took place under the Caudillo's rule will carry on into the new electoral system. As a result of this, the idea of using the Guard Civil to protect polling stations has been brought to the council. Using the police would be able to break any conflicts that could occur and might even act as a deterrent to dissuade troublemakers from showing up. Furthermore, it would be a signal to our citizens that we are truly committed to democracy and encouraging them to proceed where they otherwise wouldn't have. In spite of this, the general consensus among the officials we have in charge of organizing the election is that the fears of voter intimidation are exaggerated. The development of the Guardia Civil would be a waste of police time and resources we could use otherwise spent elsewhere. The Guardsville turning a blind eye could result in chaos in the election day. You know what? Fine, we'll keep a little bit of a police presence. I mean, it is the first election in, what, 33 years? So it makes sense that, I mean, it makes a little bit of sense, I guess. I don't know. But we have oil now, so that's nice. And the Middle East is slowly starting to explode. I'm sure within the next few days, or next few months, we'll probably see even more chaos breaking apart here. I know Egypt can eventually go into like a massive civil war. Arabia and Iraq can as well. I don't remember about Iran. I think they can, but we'll just kind of see. Looks like the Dhofar Rebellion's doing pretty okay in Oman. And the Yemen Arab Republic's probably going to be the one coming on top here as well. Okay, let's rallies in the city. The campaign begins! As parties begin to take shape and serious threats to the Union Nationale start to arise, it has become apparent that the council members that some election interference may be needed to secure favorable results. In the back doors of the council chambers, all but the most diehard reformers are discussing which measures to take and step the tide of liberalism. The use of such intervention would undoubtedly harm the future prospects of Iberian democracy, but for the more restrained reformists, the choice between democracy where they lose or stability where they win is seriously contested. Those sympathetic to the rule of Franco and Nicanto wish to actively fund Union Nationale through proxies and such bank accounts to ensure that no other party can match our level of funding. Others have considered using suppression to ensure that no liberal parties can become elected or even become part of a coalition. For these moderates, so long as some kind of conservative party wins, Iberia will be safe and the reforms will be limited. Naturally, the reformist ideologues have expressed disgust at the thought of illegally funding or suppressing the parties and reject the notion that only Union Nationale can guide the country sufficiently. Feeling that only a free and fair election can allow the people of Iberia to choose direction for their for the nation democratically. I mean, we'll do a free and fair campaign. I mean, if it, like, why? I've worked all this time to try to create a democratic system in Iberia. Why would I immediately go around and try to actively suppress it? Right? It's like, that seems like a weird choice. Yes, now you've won. Yeah, so this basically is going to turn out into a two-way Russian war. It's going to be either West Siberia versus one of these two. I guess technically maybe Finland can still win, but I feel like that's unlikely. Democratic rallies in the cities. The rallies Iberia has been... Okay, the rallies Iberia has since seen the... I think someone, like, forgot a word here. The rallies being seen in Iberia... are the first since the process of restoring democracy started to have only gone larger and more radical. Their excitement for the upcoming election can be heard even in the most remote places. While this is promising for the future of Iberian democracy, there has been some worry amongst some of the council in rural areas that the wrong people may benefit from their eagerness in democracy. Leftists, separatists, and leftists. All these groups have been resurgent since the rallies began, and every day their support grows wider and wider. Many in the council have expressed disgust at the prospect of a liberal or even socialist government, and have considered a media blackout to halt this momentum and prevent what they see as a red tide poised to sweep the nation. Rural representatives have also expressed support for this measure, wishing to keep leftists and cosmopolitan urbanites as far away from the communities as possible. The more optimistic within the council have stated their opposition to the blackout, believing that they can beat back their political enemies on the merits of their arguments rather than resorting to dirty tricks and backdoor politics. Okay, well, the Conservatives are a little bit upset. So I think the next thing we agree to, we might need to give the Conservatives something. Again, assuming that... I'm guessing the more angry we make one side, the more likely like a coup or something like that is. I want to make sure like a civil war does not break out in Iberia. Like, if I can end an Iberian campaign without Spain going into like a 15-way civil war, I will feel like we've accomplished something great. Okay, we've got special media coverage. Rural democracy. So far, the cities have been the loudest and most excited for the election. Does not bode well for future Iberia should the liberals or even, God forbid, the socialists use their advantage to win the election. In order to counterbalance this, many within the council have begun to discuss ways to get rural God-fearing conservatives to lead the way with their faith and tradition, providing a solid bedrock for the glory of the nation in the coming decades. By utilizing our ties to the church, we can ensure that those hold in our nation together not only come out to vote, but come out to vote for the right party. With not propaganda in the right places, we could turn the far more villager voting blocks away from Alliance Popular and towards Union Nationale, and potentially secure victory in the election. That being said, many of the moderates in the council have stated their position that the Alliance Popular victory in the election would be satisfactory, as they share many of their values. The more liberal-minded in the council have proclaimed that there should be no meddling in these areas, and to allow the people of Iberia to choose the government that they wish. However, whether those council members are truly loyal to Union Nationale has always been debated since the council granted its additional powers. Okay, well, I don't think we want to anger them a third time. Let's go 1 point into Union Nationale. I mean, they have, like, no support anyway, so, like, who cares? As long as it doesn't anger the Conservatives too much. Because, again, we don't want these guys forming a coup. I feel like that would be, bad in the grand scheme of things. Also, formation of Saki in turn. Also, was there not, like, a thing that said got unlocked here? Yeah, okay, Democracy in Iberia. It actually says right here. Okay, I probably should have looked at this when it showed up. Okay, so current frontliner is Party Rodina Democrato. The current Union Republicans popularity is overwhelming, 122. National Union, medium. Alzier popularity is overwhelming. The Socialists, I'm assuming, are irrelevant. So Union Republicans are the liberal democracy. 132. So the biggest support right now actually is for the market liberals. Again, I'm pretty sure there's probably no way to elect. I mean, Union Nationale, you can probably have them win the election. I can't imagine there's any way to get these socialists to actually win the election. So the question really is, do we want the market liberals or the social liberals to actually end up winning the election? Okay, so you've annexed Onega. You're now fighting against Finland. Okay, it's now or never. A little bit more political power. Did we get a decision for this one? No, yours popularity and authoritarian democracy. By 1%, which again is not a huge deal. And it looks like the Far East will probably end up winning. Okay, the first Iberian election. I mean, I'm ready for this. I'm ready for democracy in Iberia. I mean, Finland, I'm sure, cannot stop the Russians. Seeing as, again, they have, like, what, 66 divisions last time I checked? Like, they have, yeah, they got, like, a pretty decent-sized army. Also, apparently I know a lot about their army right now. And the elections have begun. I'm assuming we're not going to get a focus until after the elections have concluded. But who will come out on top? Who will win the election? Again, right now it looks like it'll probably be the PRD. The first Iberian election. The church bells rang 6 times. On any other day, there would be a few people meandering around on their commute to work, but this was not any other day. The announcement of Iberia's first free elections had been made. The jubilation tingled in the air, leaving a mark on anyone who ventured out that day. All the excitement and anticipation that had been built up to the announcement had burst out into a celebration larger than any other seen in Iberian history. For one day, all people in the nation felt unified, and all differences had been ascended. The old wept at seeing how far the nation had come from the days of where collapse felt inevitable. The young finally had a chance to be represented and choose a government they weren't born into. As the day marched on, the crowds only got bigger and the cheers only got louder, and the spirits of democracy only grew stronger. For Franco, this was just another day. He didn't get up early, nor did he eat breakfast without any haste. However, as the aging Cadillo left his residence for some air, he saw the crowds he had not seen since the like of his victory 31 years ago. He had only reluctantly given additional powers to the council, and throughout this process had gone back and forth on whether it was a good idea. But seeing the people in his nation cry out for such elation caused a single tear drop from behind his glasses. Iberia had been saved. Yep. And I'm hoping that is not a foreboding towards what might happen. Okay, the election arrangements. Ballot boxes are beginning to be delivered all throughout the country as applications flood into electoral commissions for volunteers to help tally up the votes, and voter registration forms have been created a mile-long line of paperwork. The talk of organizing the election is over, and now practicalities of running an election are about to take place. Now that the decision made by the council in preparing for the election has begun to take shape, there are criticisms from all sides regarding the handling the logistics side of things. Some believe that the numbers of police deployed is too much, while some say it's too little. Some have stated that not enough ballot boxes are sent to rural areas, while others say there are too many. The old adage, you can't please anyone, applied to politics, seems to be closer to you can't please anyone. Only time will tell whether the measures taken in the electoral process were the correct ones. And we can't influence the election. I think probably because I chose some of the options that I did. Okay, now Egypt is going into civil war. So we got the socialists here. Order has collapsed in Egypt. Because are you technically still a puppet state? I'm not too sure. Now the Muslim Brotherhood has popped up. But either way, the restoration of the parties. The campaign trail has officially begun, which has led to the restoration of old parties and the formation of new ones. Currently, minor parties have begun to emerge everywhere as anticipated, but through mergers and arrangements, minor parties are taking shape into a few major parties representing the ideological makeup of modern Iberia. At the moment, the parties that seem to be gaining traction are the socially liberal Union Republica, the conservative Allied Popular, and the economic liberal party Renovar Democrato. The newfound diversity in the Republic is shocking an old guard who believe that many of the views were not now being openly advocated in the streets had died out under the Cadillo's watch. But to their dismay, both the red banner and the flag of the Second Republic is being paraded around with seemingly no consequences. With the decline of Union Nationale, reactionary elements within the party have been provoked to believe a stronger hand will be needed to guide the UN victory to this election. So liberals, conservatives, and the market liberals also get a little bit more popular. Yeah, I mean, we're one of the most unpopular parties, so well, I mean, we'll see how it goes. Bull Republic has defeated some. I mean, the Bull Republic's actually going to win, which I actually thought was not going to happen. But the Boers have won. Union Republica organized the Galician rally. Galicia, while not as violent or loud as the Basque Canadian separatists, does have a substantial separatist movement. It has made Union Republica's decision to outline their plans for minority represented in the city a clear sign of their commitment to the cause of peaceful devolution. The rally itself was rather short, but the speech was almost drowned out by cheers. Once the rally was over, brawls practically broke out across the city between Galician nationalists and unionists. City officials denounced the UR speakers for inciting violence and disturbing the peace. Toronto Fernandez Miranda has refused to acknowledge the announcement, saying committed to the slogan "Freedom and Autonomy for all Iberian children." These words would have gone to any other man in prison mere months ago, but now has become a rallying cry for the up-and-coming Union Republica. A party dedicated for reducing inequality, empowering Iberia's minorities, and seeing that the process of democratization is brought to its natural conclusion. The party has been seeing widespread support in urban centers, from moderate minority nationalist movements, and from the hardline reformists in the council. Promising a total break from the policies of the past, will they be able to muster up enough support for such a radical agenda? I mean, potentially, I don't know. Sudan is now at war. Let's go for you. Yeah, so we got the Ba'ath State of Sudan, the Republic of Sudan, the Sudanese Defense Force, and you two down here are also fighting it amongst yourselves. I mean, how many troops do you guys actually have? 424 and 9 to 16. So I'd imagine that the revolutionaries are going to win just because they have a lot of they got a lot of troops. Algiers Popular announces opposition. Those frolicking crypto communists would be the death of this nation should they be elected. The fact that they have such as much support as they do, only goes to show that the degradation of traditional Iberian morals and values that have occurred in our society. We, as Alzir Popular, vow not only to halt this menace, but reverse the degradation and make Iberians proud of their nation once more. Manuel Fraga, Iberian leader of Alzir Popular. Following the Union Republica's rally in Galicia, Fraga has released a scathing article in the conservative ABC newspaper targeting Fernandez Miranda and his party. Criticizing their inflammatory anti-Iberian language and highly idealistic and unrealistic policies, the article has inflamed public opinion with the use of device language. To accompany this article, Fraga has released a manifesto in which the policy and positions of Alzir Popular were showcased. As expected, it calls for aggressively combating terrorism, maintaining a unitary-style government, and strengthening the bond between the church and the state. Naturally, this has come under heavy fire from the liberals who claim that Alzir Popular wish to maintain the status quo at a time when reform is needed, while conservatives argue they only wish to preserve what has made Iberia great. Do I know when the election's actually going to happen? Right now, the front letter is still the market liberals. Again, I don't know when the election is actually going to happen. The PRD calls for unity. With tensions rising among the Union Republica and the Alzir Popular, the party, Renato Democratico, has issued a call for unity, citing the inflammatory language used by both sides as the catalyst for future political violence. Whether this call will fall on deaf ears remains to be seen. But the publicity around the stunt has been giving the PRD a boost in the polls and has propelled them to lead for the title of main center party, with emphasis on their civility needed in politics. Promising a focus on economic liberalization, along with a vague promise of social reform, the PRD has managed to gain support from the urban business leaders and the money that comes along with them. Given the stagnation that occurred under the Caudillo's rule, their message of adopting a laissez-faire approach has resonated with many of the people most afflicted by the pitfalls of the old economic systems. And a more measured tone of social issues could mean that the PRD stands to poach voters off of both AP and DUR. Whether they can convince enough people in the marketplace of ideas to win the election remains to be seen. Okay, I guess Italy does still control, they still control the Suez. Do you have anything after... Probably completes this focus. Tokyo standoff. The Great Conspiracy... Okay, so is this the, have they gone ultra-nationalist now? I mean, there's a crisis in Tokyo. Okay, and it looks like the communists have won their war in Egypt. I think they'll probably also win in Oman as well. FET, White Alas Joan merges with... Okay. With the rising liberal sentiment that plagues the nation today, we see fit to officially merge ourselves with the Portuguese sister party. Despite some minor grievances, both are great parties, strive for a strong Iberia built on solid moral foundation, and will now do so as a singular force. An unsurprising move, the Spanish Flanders have merged with the Spanish UN. The growth of the liberals in the PRD and the UR has pushed the two parties together in an alliance in hopes of working as one. They can avoid splitting the vote and secure victory for the election. Well, some of the hardline flaglists in the FET have stated their opposition. They don't have any numbers to effectively undermine the party. So fascism and despotism goes down. Authoritarian democracy gets another 10% boost. You know, that's not insignificant. And right now, it still looks like the PRD is going to end up winning the election. I don't know who's going to win down here. I don't know who's going to win in South Sudan. Again, not that it really, I think, matters too much. And who are you? You're just like another little puppet state of Italy. Membership of the UN slips. While there was some speculation that the UN will lose members to the newly formed parties, the amount that has fallen has left UN party officials gobsmacked. Following the ascension of the UR, AP, and the PRD, members who had previously been suspected of having liberal or even moderate conservative opinions have left the party in droves, accusing UN of betraying the democratic principles it sought to instill at the restoration of the free and fair elections. According to some, this exodus has been a major blow to the party and has removed the electability they once held. However, Helio Rodriguez de Vallecrez has publicly said that the loss of membership is a good thing, as it means the party will have purged of liberals who seek to undermine it. Privately, Vallecrez has seen wandering the party's headquarters, and any attempt to communicate with him only results in a volley of curses and seething anger. And then it looks like we can actually try to... Okay, apparently, I mean, it's high. Almost everybody has, like, decent support. I covertly support a party. Following the exodus of the liberals, it has become apparent to the government that there's a very serious issue. There's a very serious threat of a liberal party winning the election. As a result, the question of secretly funding has been brought up behind closed doors in order to prevent the PRD, or the God forbid, the Union Republica, from taking over and carrying on with even more reform. However, who this funding should go to remains undecided. The UN seems to like the obvious choice if any extra funding would be needed. Some of the government feel they could have fallen too far to be saved. Even with covert support, instead there has been a proposal to fund the AP, as they've been seen having a strong chance of winning the election. Although there are some differences in the policy between the two, as the Popular is still the conservative party opposed to the liberals, and therefore broadly agree with the vision of the UN. They could, for this reason, be key in preventing liberal influence from disturbing the status quo. That being said, some have stated their opposition to any election tampering and wish to ensure the people of Iberia get to choose their own government, whether that be liberal or a conservative one. I guess we'll just stay committed to democracy for now, because again, I don't think the conservatives or the UN have any chance of actually winning the election. I mean, actually, how much do the AP have? They have 101, but they're like they're 39 behind. Well, 39 points behind the liberals here. Logistic issues arrive. Well, the government has predicted a large amount of registrations. The amount of applications has flooded the Electoral Commission. There are serious worries that there are not enough ballots will be printed to provide to everyone who has registered. If we aren't able to meet the demand and the press was to find out, it would seriously harm the government's image and weaken people's trust in the government to provide a free and fair election. However, it would be costly to be able to print enough ballots in time for the election, as printing houses have been subsidized to work overtime. That being said, it's not immediately certain that the amount by which we would be able to print will fall short by demand. Should there only be a few thousand people who do not have a ballot, there would be a chance that the press wouldn't pick up on it, and we could avoid the cost. Yeah, let's print more ballots. Have the game resume. Okay. So I'm guessing we really don't have any. I'm guessing we don't really have any way to influence this other than the options we already had. Election day. The day has finally arrived. A new chapter in the short history of the Iberian Union. Parties and politicians have risen and fallen, but today will mark the destiny of Iberian democracy for years to come. And for the first time in decades, it shall be the people of Iberia who decides the outcome. The size of the crowds and its momentum occasion dwarfs the one seen when the election was first announced, and while the feelings of excitement still remain, there is something else accompanying it that there wasn't there before. A feeling of unspoken trepidation. Questions that have plagued the minds of average Iberian. What if it all went wrong? What if all this was for nothing and the old regime remains remanded for the next decade? There were celebrations from dusk till dawn, but the anxiety hung over like a stalactite, ready to fall any moment, ready to spear their newfound liberty. Antonio, Isabella, Leo, and Gabriella could not have less in common. What common ground does a bureaucrat, a student, a banker, and a nun share? Usually very little, but today they all felt a feeling in their stomach. As they gripped their secret ballot, they were united in a forbidding apprehension about the country's future. No words were exchanged, but they all shared in the comfort of each other's worrying glances. If the future were to be bleak, they wouldn't face it alone, but together. While in power, it would be easy to say that Franco could never really connect with the people and understand their plight, even if he could feel the unpleasantness in the air. The people want reform, that he was sure of, but if they did not get it, what would they do? Who would face the wrath of the disillusioned masses? Franco was many things, but clueless was not one of them. He realized how, in his position, however ceremony may went, he could be the target of populist outrage. After coming to the conclusion, he decided to visit the cathedral in his hometown in the remainder of the day to pray for everything worked out as intended. We'll probably end this video once the election actually is over. Okay, there's been unexpected rural turnout. In a surprising move, the rural population has come out and made a force in the election. Prominent officials from these rural areas have stated the government took measures in the organization of this election to personally exclude the rural vote, which had led to these officials energizing their constituents to come out in more unprecedented numbers. The government has responded by saying that there is no measures taken to purposely leave out the rural population from the process. However, many within the rural areas already distrust the government and have accused them of lying. Okay, so you are now... I mean, everybody's overwhelmingly popular. And the PRD has secured victory. To the surprise of a lot of political commentators, the PRD has managed to win the election. To promise to elect an economic liberalization and prosperity, the PRD was able to win over a large chunk of the middle class with a heavy focus on religion with it. They managed to steal enough of the Catholic votes from the AP to claim victory. Now, industrialists, clerks, and several Opus Dei members of the crowd at party headquarters on the Arbelin Street of Madrid, champagne in one hand, cigars in the other. While the rest of his party was partying, Alvarez Calvo, General Secretary of the PRD, gave a speech at the Pazia Mayor in Madrid, in which he detailed his plan to ensure that Iberia seems a stable, prosperous economy, while staying closely to the doctrine of Catholicism to ensure that Iberia was a stable, moral bedrock. So PRD becomes ruling party, new leader. Apparently, there's actually a there's like a whole focus tree here. I'm kind of surprised that there is still more. How is there still so much left to do? But I have a feeling these are probably like the last focuses, but I might be wrong. But I think for right now, it's going to be a good time for us to end this episode. So thanks everybody for watching my Anthem. If you enjoyed, thumbs up. Not doing twice, thumb down. You want to subscribe, and goodbye.